Hello and welcome, my friends and viewers, to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, gods, and other things from D&D 5th edition while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their history within the game, how they're utilized in the mod edition, and how you guys can utilize them in your own games. This week we'll be covering the Behir, a terrifying 12-legged, storm-spitting, dragon-fighting monstrosity. Growing at a rate of about 8 feet a year after birth, Behirs have long, serpentine bodies and are born with only 3 to 4 pairs of legs to start, the rest growing as they mature to a maximum of 6 legs, each bearing clawed 3-toed feet. These legs could be used to climb vertical surfaces or fold under the body, allowing the Behir to slither through land and tunnels like a snake. Curled black horns were seated at the back of their crocodile-like heads, often used for preening, and their mouths were filled with prismatic, multicolored teeth that were often valued for their gem-like makeup. Behir bones were also crystalline in nature as well, brittle in their youth but hardening to the strength of diamond with age. Behirs also had thick, armored scales colored in variations of dark blue with lighter undersides, and were believed to be immune to the forces of lightning as well as most poisons. They were also known for their telltale ability to shoot out a thunderous line of lightning breath, and as such Behirs were often mistaken for wingless blue dragons by those who were less educated on what a dragon might actually look like, something that an older, more intelligent Behir might find to be a grave insult. Furthermore, Behirs bear both dark vision and low light vision, grow to an average of about 40 feet long, and weigh upwards of 4,000 pounds. They were primarily carnivores and had an average lifespan of about 50 to 60 years, and some Behirs were capable of speech and linguistic comprehension, usually speaking Draconic, with some of them having learned the common tongue, as well as Giant due to the nature of their creators. And speaking of which, Behirs were first created by storm giants during the ancient wars between them and the dragons, and as such giants infused them with an innate hatred for dragons and draconic entities such as wyverns, drakes, or possibly even dragonborn. As such, Behirs were often keen to never settle near a dragon, and if by chance one does enter into its territory, it will either kill it if it's too young, or flee to avoid it if it's too powerful. Usually most Behirs will pick the former as the first response, only retreating if the battle proves too much for it. Behirs tend to build lairs in places inaccessible to other creatures, preferring isolation and often found in almost any region that holds deep pits, high caves on cliff sides, or caverns reached only by winding tunnels that make perfect ambush points for a meal. Speaking of which, Behirs, despite their sharp gem-like teeth, often swallow their prey whole before fleeing back into their lair. They then enter into a period of dormancy while they digest, choosing a spot in its lair that any search parties may overlook, such as hidden caverns or peaks that are too high or dangerous to climb. As such, this gives adventurers who unfortunately have been consumed by the Behir a second chance to escape. Though they might have to find a way out of the perilous location the Behir has chosen to settle in, that could be an adventure in its own right if they survive. As I said before, Behirs are usually solitary creatures, but they could be found in mated pairs usually during the early spring, with females laying about 2 to 4 eggs and the pair burying them under the dirt and sand to gestate. After a period between 2 weeks to 8 months, the sources are a little bit scattered on that one, the eggs hatched and the young were driven from the den as the mated pair also split apart as well. Given their moderate intelligence, I'm actually very surprised that the mating practice of Behirs is so simple and instinctual, but perhaps they're intellectually on the cusp of being able to understand a deeper interpersonal connection beyond just procreation. In certain regions, such as Halrua in the Forgotten Realms, Behirs were bred to be more diverse in color, size, and magical power, done so by placing Behir eggs into shallow water and feeding them fish and eels upon birth. These smaller but more versatile Behir types were often used as guard dogs or handheld pets, or they even could be butchered and sold for their magical components, such as their bones and the like. Speaking of components, when it comes to giving your party loot, Behir horns can be ground down into a magical ink that can be used to pen lightning spell scrolls, such as Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, or could be alchemically distilled into a potion of lightning resistance. Similarly, scrolls and potions of neutralized poison often use materials from ground-up Behir's talons, and the heart of a Behir can be used to create items using the preemptive spell Protection from Poison. Furthermore, lightning-resistant armor can be made from their scales, and their crystalline bones can be carved into scrimshaw, making chimes, sculptures, and even musical instruments such as flutes. Their teeth, as I said before, were precious enough to be used as stand-ins for true gemstones, and were valued at the same level as well. In the previously mentioned Halrua, there is also tell of a music box made completely out of Behir parts, such as teeth for plucking hooks, string made from their guts and electrum, and Behir ivory used for the bulk of the instrument's casing. Now when it comes to combat, Behirs have a variety of different attacks at their disposal. Beyond their classic lightning breath, they also have their talons and teeth to shred their foes to pieces, and their serpentine bodies can be used to constrict and crush their prey. Use the constrict ability in succession with their bite claws and even lightning breath for more accurate hits. And the Behir's tendency to swallow its prey whole does make it advantageous to gobble up the wizard or other casters first, since they'll have a much harder time cutting their way out. If you have a heavy-hitting melee-focused party, then have your Behirs stick to the walls and ceilings where they can't easily reach, pelting them with their lightning breath from a distance and skittering along the walls. They may also make use of their long necks for their bite attack, which has a 10-foot reach. Behir layers are winding and cavernous, so make use of the slithering movements to get cover, duck out of sight, and attack the PCs from unseen or unexpected angles. I also happen to make my own custom stat block for Behirs, which I've included in the description below for anybody who wants to use them. It mainly has a few more reactions and some changes made to its attacks due to the Behir having 6 pairs of legs. Now for Dungeon Masters, here are some ways that you can include the Behir in either some quests or encounters or even in your world building. The first one that I have that I've included in my own homebrew world is the Order of the Behir. Due to their dragon hunting origins, I can absolutely imagine a pseudo-knightly order of dragon hunters who take the Behir as their sigil, or are even perhaps led by a storm giant or even an ancient and intelligent Behir, who founded the organization to collect like-minded folks to battle against the draconic scourge. If your party has to take on a dragon as an enemy, this could be a great source of allies, information, and plot hooks for you to throw in. The ranks of these would be filled out predominantly by lightning-focused classes, such as Storm Sorcerers, Tempest Clerics, Storm Herald Barbarians, Circle of the Land Druids from the Mountain Territories, Way of the Four Elements Monks, Evocation Wizards, Arcane Trickster Rogues, and even Eldritch Knights that are focused on lightning spells. Next, we have a pair of quests that you guys can very easily just stick into your games. The first one is the Pet Behir. The party has been told of a weeping storm giant seated atop a mountain in a storm-stricken valley, and upon confronting said giant, learned that it's depressed because its pet, a Behir, has run off and the giant has no idea where it's gone. If the party helps reunite the pet with its master, perhaps the giant can give them something in return, such as a giant forged weapon or safe passage into a giant-controlled territory. This is a bit of a severe upgrade from the concept of like the first level adventure where you have to help a woman find their cat or something, and I feel like this is a little bit more interesting because now not only do you have to track down the Behir, but now you have to take it down in a way that doesn't harm it lest you incur the wrath of its storm giant owner. And now for the second quest, we have the Dragon and the Behir. The party has been tasked with removing a blue dragon who has been causing problems for a nearby village, and are directed to a cave that is believed to house the creature. Upon entering, they discover that they have instead descended into the lair of a nesting Behir, whom the villagers have unfortunately mistaken for a dragon. Now this could be the end of the quest, but you could also absolutely still have a dragon be a real present threat that was just simply misidentified. And if you have a character who can recall the information about the Behir's distaste for draconic kind, you can attempt to recruit the Behir to aid you in destroying it. Its instincts will kick in, and with some good persuasion rolls, you can have a Behir escort you up to the dragon's mountain on its back. Furthermore, you'll also be free to clear out the dragon's hoard, as Behirs do not hoard things like dragons do, and won't have any qualms with you diving into the spoils, unless there's some food or something else that it's inclined to keep. And lastly, we have a few actively Behir-inspired items. First, there's Behir Scale Armor, which is a +1 scale mail armor that grants its user resistance to lightning damage, and does not require attunement. Very simple, straight and to the point. Behir Anti-Poison, which is simply potions or alchemical concoctions made from Behir talons and biological materials. They allow you to do a variety of things, such as granting those who drink them resistance to poison damage, or advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, or it could just give them a flat temporary bonus to their constitution. Behir Ivory Scrimshaw, while it may not have a mechanical benefit or any that I could think of, could definitely be sold for a hefty amount of gold if bought to a collector or sold on the black market. And next, there are items made specifically out of pure Behir bone. You can use their gem-like bones for jewelry, casting focuses, and the like, and possibly even give them a casting bonus to or resistance against lightning spells. Such examples would include a javelin of lightning, wand of lightning bolts, or a ring of lightning resistance, or even a staff of thunder and lightning, all completely made out of honed crystalline bones of a Behir. You could possibly even add some scrimshaw design into it for that additional aesthetic, and no doubt your storm sorcerers and your tempest clerics would be very happy. And lastly, for our homebrew magic item this evening, we have something that I have named, and I kind of hate it, the Gerdy, which is essentially a Behir forged music box that requires attunement by a bard or an individual with proficiency in the performance skill, and it can be used as an arcane spellcasting focus. While attuned to this item, the wielder can choose to play the Ballad of the Behir as an action, giving all allies within 120 feet that can hear it a d6 bonus to any chosen roll that they make before the end of their next turn. They can use this d6 bonus before or after the roll is made, but before the DM tells the result of the roll. If this bonus is used on an attack roll or on a saving throw caused by an enemy of the dragon creature type, it increases from a d6 to a d8. And likewise, if this bonus is used against an enemy of the giant subtypes, it decreases from a d6 to a d4. The wielder of this item can perform this action a number of times per long rest equal to their proficiency bonus. And additionally, the wielder of this item can cast the lightning bolt spell once without spending a spell slot, just so long as it uses this item as the arcane focus to cast it. I've linked the magic item in the description below, and that's the Behir, everybody. I want to thank all of you guys for watching, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know what your guys' encounters with Behirs have been, if you make any use of any of the ideas that I've posted to you, such as the quests or even the order of the Behir. And if you guys want to vote on the next video, please once again check out the community tab or follow the link in the description below to vote on the next D&D character that I will cover, which is going to be between the Dark Mage Zagig, Wolfgar, or the Paladin Strongheart. And lastly, let me know what other stuff you guys would like to see in upcoming videos. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.